Just look on the bright side of life.
I mean, it seems kind of simple, but we all get caught up in it because we just think it's no big deal because the bank says the same thing every time. No, I don't have your package. So I'm going to suggest if they don't have it after 2 days, you fax it in again. And I'm going to suggest that you call back 1 day later. And if they don't have it, fax it again. And call back in the next day. And if they don't have it, fax it again.
Maybe
now, along the way, I'm not going to keep doing the same thing. I'm going to ask for additional fax numbers. I'm going to ask for an email address to send it to. I'm going to ask for an address. Like I said, Outback solution, I'm not limiting you to just faxing it, but I'm going to do something different. I truly believe that within 5 to 7 business days, you can get a package verified and confirmed at a bank. But hear me on this. It's administrative heavy and it takes time. Okay? So you've got to understand, if you're a solo agent out there that's trying to do short sales and show buyers homes, etc., you're going to have to build in some time and a system to sit down and work on your short sale files. Because just touching your short sale file 1 or 2 days a week isn't enough in the first 30 days. Hear me on that one, guys. It's not enough. And I'm not implying that we all should just bombard the bank with faxes and make the hold times and wait times longer. That's not what I'm saying. But we have to help the bank help themselves. That's what Kevin and I say all the time. No, look, Mr. Bank Employer, I'm just trying to help you help yourself.
Literally, guys, anybody who's escalated high up in Bank of America knows this guy, Dave Sunland. He oversees it. He is the guy for REO trends or Equator, whatever they're calling it this week. And so we're on the phone the other day. I had to escalate to him for an issue I shouldn't have had to. And when we got done with that conversation, that took us about 5 to 7 minutes for him to figure out with his calculator. And he literally, I could hear him typing, by the way, on a calculator, was just going, okay, yeah, I'll approve that. And then he sat there and we stayed on the phone for 35 minutes and he asked me about their process and some of the things that they can do to help us out. I mean, so they're trying to get better, guys. On some level, I believe that. But it's also like a tugboat in the middle of the ocean. Even when they want to make a change that's for the good, it takes a long time to turn directions and start going that way and implement process. So it's up to us to come up with the solutions on how to bridge the gap there. You guys get that? Like, Bank of America gets a lot of flack. Probably most of it is deserving, but they are looking to make some improvement, and we need to understand that they can't just do it like that, like a smaller bank can, or a much smaller, like we can in our own businesses when we're the ones running it and we can just make a change tomorrow. They can't do that. So you guys have to understand that and keep that perspective.
Okay, so let's talk about the next part of the first 30 days. I got my offer, I got my HUD from the title company, I faxed everything in. If I was following our system anyway, my goal would be within 5 to 7 days to get the package verified. And now I've given myself basically 2.5 or 3 weeks to get a coordinator or a negotiator at the bank assigned to the file and get a broker price opinion or appraisal order. Okay? That's pretty realistic, guys. It really is. If you ask most banks in America, from the time they receive your package to the time they order a broker price opinion or appraisal, it's usually they'll quote you somewhere between 1 and 4 weeks. Okay? So I'm going to give you, we can talk around BPOs for a long time, but this is what I'm going to say about BPOs and appraisals. Make sure that when you get the BPO ordered by the bank, that you actually ask the bank to note you as the contact for access to the home. Meaning that you don't want the BPO agent going out to the property without having to call you or your office first to gain access. I'm not saying that so you can strong arm the BPO agent or pay them money so their BPO comes in, right? You know, I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that if they don't have to call you for access, how do you ever know that it got done? You don't. You keep calling back in weekly or bi-weekly, and you find out, oh, I'm sorry, the BPO hasn't come back yet. Yes, sir, I do show it was ordered on such and such a date. They're just taking a long time. And that happens, and 4 weeks go by. Ask us how we know that one, and nothing's happened. Okay? So make sure that you're the contact for the BPO agent to gain access to the home. And if you don't have a call on that BPO within 3 or 5 days, then you need to be calling back into the bank and asking them to look into it and find out where your BPO order is.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say there? There's a lot.
Well, I mean, we can talk about that for 2 more hours, but I'm going to just touch on this play detected part at the bottom of the screen, guys, which is the next part. You got the BPO order. When we say play detected, that's just a term that Fred and I came up with. It's something that we do on every single call. We put it into this portion of the slide, but it should be happening the first time you call to find out where to send your borrower's authorization. should be happening when you verify it, and every other call you ever make from now to the end of time is playing detective. And what I mean by that is coming from a place of beginner's mind and just looking to understand the process better and asking questions. For us, I'm just going to give you a couple questions that may help you out. They've helped us out in a big way. But we'll ask, who orders the BPO? Is it the negotiator, or is it the person on the phone right there? How quickly does it get ordered? Who approves my short sale? Can that be done in-house, or does it have to go to an investor? And then my next question is, who is the investor? Is it Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae? Is it a private investor? Do they maybe own the loan? These are just things that maybe I don't need right now, but it's useful information at a certain point in this transaction. So I'm going to ask for it ahead of time. I'll also ask about mortgage insurance at this point too, to see if they have mortgage insurance, and if they do, I'm going to ask for the certification number. Now, you guys may get different answers on these questions if you're asking these questions every time and talking to different people. In fact, I promise you'll get different answers. So keep track of them, and when you start to see a pattern, then you can build off of that.
Understand, guys, there's a big conversation of what happens between 30 and day 30 and day 90. The idea between day 30 and day 90 is, like Kevin said, making sure that you understand who's going to be the one that approves your file, okay, and making sure that it gets done and it gets submitted, okay. The reason in the first 30 days we say play detective is first 30 days is really call heavy, really admin heavy, but if you can get a lot of good information out of there, like, let's give you guys an example. For example, you all know that if your mortgage statement says Bank of America, that's who you make your payment to, that's what's called the servicer, right? But just because Bank of America is the servicer and the one that receives your mortgage payment, doesn't mean that Bank of America actually has the authority to approve your short sale, okay? And a lot of people don't understand that. So what we call the person or the entity that has the ability to approve your short sale is the investor. That's the one that actually owns the note, okay? So knowing who the investor is on a file, knowing if there's mortgage insurance, which is another type of investor, will give you an idea of how long the rest of the process is going to take, and it lets you babysit and oversee the short sale transaction. Everybody with us there?
One more quick tip in this point of the transaction, guys, in the first 30 days. Anybody's ever heard the term escalation? Yes. Okay, maybe just one or two of you. Okay, so Fred and I have this term that we call pre-escalation. Okay, you don't have to call it that, that's what we call it. It's called pre-escalation. And that's where we're gathering information before we ever need it. So when we find out who our negotiator is, I actually want to know who that person reports to now, long before I need it. And then I want to find out who that person reports to, and who that person reports to. In fact, we'll make a game of it, kind of like the hang-up game, and go up as many levels as we possibly can, gathering contact information that we may or may not need on this transaction.
I've been on the phone, it was a country
file, right?
Yeah, I got somebody on the phone, it was a brand new file, and I said, who's my negotiator? And the lady was really nice, it was nice in return. She gave me it, and so then my next question was, oh, who's my supervisor? She gave me that one. I said, who do they report to? She gave me that one. And at this point, I'm like, man, do I keep asking? It's like getting a little uncomfortable even for me. And I was like, well, what do I have to lose? The worst she can say is no. So I asked again. She gave me that person. And I asked again. I got all the way in one phone call, found out who the negotiator was, the supervisor was, the assistant vice president, the vice president, and the senior vice president in one phone call.
And what, really quickly, just because a lot of you are going to be uncomfortable doing that, what stopped you from getting one more?
I actually got uncomfortable and didn't ask who the senior vice president reported to.
You guys, I just say that like anybody who's ever met Fred knows that he rarely gets uncomfortable and he's fairly bold.
Well, we talk about toasters.
Wow. Okay, my point is, guys, you're going to be uncomfortable asking for that information. A lot like the first time you cold called a FSBO or you called an expired listing or a canceled listing. Just get past it and give yourself that experience of doing it, because all of this I don't have this secret information that is only available to me and Fred. I got it because I literally asked for it, or I Googled it, which is another form of asking.
Yeah, guys, I mean, some of you will say, well, how do I get that information? You ask. I mean, it really is that simple. I understand a lot of the banks are going to tell you we're not allowed to give you that information. And here's what a lot of people aren't willing to do. They're not willing to call 10 times in a row to find the one person at the bank that will give you that information.
Always look on